By the spring of 1975, after years of relentless combat, massive casualties, and deep divisions at home, the United States had withdrawn most of its troops from Vietnam. But while American soldiers were returning home, South Vietnam was left to defend itself against the advancing forces of North Vietnam. Despite years of US military and financial aid, the South Vietnamese government was weak, plagued by corruption, and exhausted from war. As North Vietnamese forces closed in on Saigon, panic swept through the city. Ordinary people, teachers, shopkeepers, families, feared what would happen once the communists took over. Many remembered stories of brutal re-education camps, imprisonment, or worse. For years, Americans had been their allies, and now they were desperate to escape before it was too late. Then came April 29, 1975. The US launched Operation Frequent Wind, the largest helicopter evacuation in history. The scene was chaotic and heartbreaking. Crowds of South Vietnamese citizens stormed the US embassy, pleading to be taken aboard departing helicopters. Some clung desperately to fences, others pushed their children forward, begging Americans to take them to safety. Helicopters landed on the embassy rooftop and naval ships offshore, ferrying thousands of people out of the collapsing city. But there weren't enough helicopters, and there wasn't enough time. As the North Vietnamese army entered Saigon on April 30th, tens of thousands were left behind. The most iconic image of that day remains etched in American memory: people climbing up a ladder to a rooftop helicopter, each step a desperate bid for survival. For many US viewers, that picture symbolized the failure of a long and costly war, a frantic scramble instead of a proud victory. Inside America, the fall of Saigon triggered deep emotions. For some, it was a crushing sense of defeat, the first time in history that the United States had lost a war. For others, it was a moment of relief, an end to years of pain, protests, and division. But above all, it was heartbreaking to watch allies and friends abandoned. Many Americans who had served in Vietnam carried guilt over those they could not save: interpreters, local soldiers, and ordinary citizens who had trusted them. The war was over, but the scars remained. Nearly 58,000 American soldiers had lost their lives, and millions of Vietnamese, soldiers and civilians alike, had perished. The fall of Saigon did not just mark the end of a war, it marked the end of American innocence about war itself. No longer could the US believe that sheer power and military might guarantee victory. For US audiences, the story of Saigon's fall is heart-touching because it embodies the human cost of war, a panic, loss, and the haunting image of people left behind. It was a reminder that wars are not just fought on battlefields but in the lives of ordinary people, caught in forces far bigger than themselves. The fall of Saigon closed the chapter on America's longest and most divisive war up to that point. But it left behind lessons that continue to shape how Americans think about foreign wars, loyalty, and the price of intervention. Above all, it remains a story of heartbreak, courage, and survival, etched forever into the nation's collective memory.